Hey, my name is Dr. Brendan McCarthy. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Protea Medical Center in Chandler, Arizona. Welcome. Today, I wanted to talk to you about hangovers. And there's a lot about that. So what is it? Why would I want to do a podcast episode on hangovers? It's not really discussed very often. When it is discussed, in some areas, they're telling it to you like it's like you're guilty and you should suffer. This is the price you pay for drinking. Then there'll be others that say, hey, you can keep drinking the rest of your life as much as you want. I'll just give you these IVs or these protocols to keep it going. There's two extremes out there when it comes to dealing with hangovers and managing them. And I'm not like that. I'm not either. I'm a very much not middle of the road all the time, but a situation like this, I don't think it's a good idea to withdraw care from someone who's suffering because I morally don't agree with their drinking, which, by the way, as a physician, I really don't have the right to judge someone. That's not at all my role. You can't judge someone and be a good doctor. You can't judge someone's decisions and be a good physician. You can teach the patient the impact of their decisions, and then they will make the decision they make. And you can't judge it either way. Being a physician is the person, your goal is not to alienate the patient by judging them. Your goal is to be there for them, to understand them, and to help guide them to a healthier place. That's why they brought you into their lives. That's our goal. So having someone present to clinic, with chronic hangovers and they're causing their lives to suffer, and it's a really uncomfortable experience, I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, that'll stop you from drinking. You get enough hangovers, sooner or later, you stop drinking. That is awful. That's not medicine. I don't know what that is. That is arrogance, perhaps. Then you have the other one, the enabler doctors, like, yeah, man, party on. Let's just keep in your pit crew here, and I'll just keep giving you IVs or supplements or whatever it is to keep you on your A game while you basically drink your life away. And that's not good either, because, you shouldn't just keep giving someone something to enable them to lead an unhealthy lifestyle. You have to find a middle ground with it. When a patient behaves in a way that is causing them physical harm, they know. And deep down, they know they probably shouldn't be doing this. Enabling it too much and shaming it too much, both of those don't do well. And that's why I don't want to make a video that do either of those. I want to make a video that explains to you what's happening during a hangover. It gives you an understanding of biologically what's occurring. And then gives you some options to help you manage these. And I want to do it in a way that says that I get it. I get where you are. And like I am with all my patients, I care. I want the best for you. I don't want you to need this. But at the same time, if this were to happen, I don't want you to suffer unnecessarily. I want you to be inspired to lead a healthier lifestyle, not through pain, but through inspiration. We don't make good changes based on pain all the time, and they don't really stick very well, So what's going on with a hangover? What is going on with a hangover? What's happening into your body when you have a hangover? What are you going through? First, let's say the most common times a person has a hangover is when they drink more than normal at a novel occasion, like, New Year's, or a party, a work party, or somewhere where we feel uncomfortable, or somewhere where we normally don't drink, or one of those settings, or we don't have control over who's making our drinks. That's another one. You go over someone's house and they make a cocktail and it's like, crazy strong. You didn't realize it was going to be like that way. And next minute over, you're falling over, getting out of control. So hangovers happen a lot of times in these situations where we don't really expect it to happen. And it's just something where it's not our normal setting. It's not our normal lifestyle. It just happens like that. And there are ones who have hangovers every weekend because that's their lifestyle. And that happens too. So what is happening during a hangover, and how does it happen, and why did it occur? When you drink alcohol, how does something that feels so good turn so bad? With anything that you consume, anything you put in your body needs to break it down into individual parts. Like say you eat carbohydrates, your body's going to break it down to different sugars to use for energy. That's how that works. You eat protein, you break it down to amino acids to use as building blocks. These are things how your body operates. Your body breaks it down to things. So alcohol is a toxic compound. When you consume it, your liver looks at it and says, this doesn't really belong here. So your liver then has to detoxify it. And there's several steps that go into that. And the steps of detoxifying alcohol, the second step there's two steps. Between the first and second step, that midpoint there, alcohol gets turned into something here called acetaldehydes. And acetaldehydes are what cause you to feel like garbage. Acetaldehydes is the most common cause of a person feeling like they're having a hangover. And this is a toxic intermediary that alcohol gets turned into. And then it goes from acetaldehydes, the liver then turns it into acetate, which is benign, and you get rid of it. So it's the detoxification pathway, and it's the intermediary where it gets stuck that causes the hangover. Now, some of us metabolize it so fast, we don't get hangovers. We're good. Some of us, we get really stuck, and we get stuck with a lot of that acetaldehyde. And that's floating through our bodies, and that's what causes us to feel bad. The key to breaking through a hangover is to understand that intermediary and then biohack your body to be able to move it faster and get it out of your body quicker. Because these acetaldehydes it's a toxic compound. You want it out of your body no matter what. And telling a patient you should stew in that acetaldehyde soup so you stop drinking it's toxic. That's a rough thing. It's like, it's not good. So moving acetaldehydes to acetate, the most important nutrient that does that is vitamin B1 thiamine. Vitamin B1 thiamine really is that important factor that triggers that pathway to move quicker. But there's also B vitamins that support that. So here's your first tip for a hangover. B vitamins, especially vitamin B1. And I would say 100 milligrams of vitamin B1 is an adequate dose. Some would say up to 500 milligrams. I would say 100 milligrams. Try that. That's a good starting point for treating a hangover. And then when you do that, it's okay to use a B complex along with it to help support that. So that helps push that pathway forward. Where we get tricked with this a little bit, and a cofactor involved in it, is what we drink. And you'll notice there's some things you drink that are worse than others. Like say you're drinking red wine. And red wine is commonly a rough hangover for people. Why? Reason why wine is a rough hangover is because wine is full of something called sulfites. Some wines are more so than others. That's why you see out there sulfite-free wine. Sulfites slow down the conversion of acetaldehyde to acetate. Sulfites slow down the breakdown of acetaldehydes and let you stew in the acetaldehydes longer. So sulfites actually prolong a hangover. One of the best ways of dealing with the sulfites with a patient is to use something called molybdenum. To break down sulfites in your body, molybdenum is a good compound. Molybdenum, you can buy that just about anywhere these days, but it's a common nutrient. It's rare that it's deficient, but you do need it to help push this pathway. So in those cases, we'll do 400 to 800 micrograms for a hangover. So here's your two things so far. Remember, B1 and molybdenum, and some B complex in there as well. This will help move this through your body quicker. Other things that you'll notice with a hangover is, and we all know, when we drink, we have to, it's a diuretic, so we urinate quite a bit when we're drinking alcohol. The thing about alcohol is it does dehydrate us, and it pulls a lot of fluids from the body, but also you lose a lot of intracellular electrolytes. Now, intracellular electrolytes, such as magnesium, play a role in the liver detoxification pathways. It's not a primary role, but it does play a role. So in order to help maintain your electrolytes and help maintain hydration, the next morning you want to drink a lot of water, but you want to add to it, 400 to 800 milligrams of magnesium. Another one that helps a lot of times is potassium, about 400 mics of potassium. That's been very helpful as well. 400 micrograms of potassium, 400 to 800 micrograms of potassium. A good supplement to take for hydration is called LMNT, the initials LMNT. And you put that in water. It has sodium. It has potassium. I don't think it has very much magnesium. You may have to take the magnesium separately. But drinking water by itself is helpful. Adding the electrolytes makes it even more helpful because electrolytes will pull the water into the cell and hydrate you. That makes a big difference. It increases the speed of hydration in the body to add electrolytes to it. Drinking Gatorade seems like a good idea. it's not a good idea. Gatorade is just a soft drink. It's just like drinking a soda. If you want to drink that for that reason, fine. But don't drink Gatorade thinking it's going to give you electrolytes. It really doesn't. Drinking Pedialyte can be helpful. There are other electrolytes out there, but you want to look at the bottle and make sure it has electrolytes in it. And we're not talking like a tiny bit. We want to be like 400 to 800 micrograms of potassium. That's a good starting point. You want to make sure it has low sugar in it. That's another one. You want to make sure what you're drinking is good for you. You did enough the night before. Let today be a moment where you're taking better care of yourself. Still, if you need some sugar in your system, I get it. Hypoglycemia is also side effects of being hungover. And so fine, but try and control that the best you can and make as many healthy options, choices as you can as well. One thing I wanted to bring up here that gets missed, and I think this is an important thing to discuss. When you drink alcohol, many people drink alcohol, and this goes back to my own wheelhouse of practicing medicine. And if you watch my podcast, you'll know this is a thing I talk about a lot. When you have a neurotransmitter deficit or an irregularity with neurotransmitters in your own brain, you will start to do things in your life to help compensate for it. Take, for instance, a person who has low levels of serotonin. You have serotonin deficit due to, situation in your life or nutritional deficiency or any number of things will cause a serotonin deficiency. And many of the cases I talk about in my podcast is serotonin can be deficient due to too much estrogen. So women who have excess estrogen or estrogen dominance will have low levels of serotonin. Now, when you have low levels of serotonin, one of the things your body does is you crave sugar. When you consume a high carbohydrate meal or just straight up candy bar, it tricks your brain into making more serotonin. So that's one of the ways your body tries to compensate, is you crave certain things to compensate for a neurotransmitter deficit. Now let's circle back to alcohol. What's going on? Alcohol is an anxiolytic compound, which means it stops anxiety. Alcohol binds to the GABA receptors in the brain, and that's the gamma aminobutyric acid receptor. And it's a great anxiolytic, but it has a lot of side effects and it's sloppy because it goes all over the brain. It affects several other areas of the brain, not just the anxiety part of the brain. When we have anxiety in our lives, it's easy to crave alcohol. That's just what happens. A common population that I see in my practice is, women who are going through, PMS, women who are in their mid to late 30s, early 40s, who progesterone levels are starting to go down because as progesterone goes down, you have less GABA activity, you have more anxiety. You know that. Women, when they have PMS or they have low progesterone, a common side effect is anxiety. And that's why in that population of women, you see, alcohol consumption start to go up. Because that's the natural response the body has. Well, the body knows you're low in GABA. The body knows you're low in progesterone, meaning you have low GABA. You're going to have more anxiety. So what can you do in your life to help balance that? Alcohol is a GABA agonist. That's why you see that starting to occur. So when people drink alcohol to bind that GABA receptor and to give their brain a moment of anxiety-free peace, the thing about alcohol is that you keep consuming it. And you consume more than what you really need to be an anxiolytic or anti-anxiety agent. So now you're moving yourself further and further over here to the super relaxed state where GABA is completely supersaturated. You move all the way over to the state here, and your brain is like, it wants you to come back here. Your brain never wants you to go too far in one direction. So it's like, we try and bring it back over this way the best it can. So as you drink, pushing over here with alcohol, your brain's moving more and more towards that anti-anxiety state. Your brain is trying to shift you back over here by upregulating other parts of the brain that are more excitatory. This is important because when the alcohol works its way out of your body the next morning, your brain, instead of being over there or over here, is now over here to the more pro-anxiety side. I hope this is making sense. This is a tricky thing to explain. It's like the more you push it over here, the brain's like, no, I want you here. And then as it wears out, your brain pushes it too far over here. Now you're stuck here. This is why people have anxiety the day after drinking. This is why people have the shakes. This is why people feel agitated. Because the GABA receptor of the brain is not just anxiety. That's a big part of it. It's not just anxiety. It's also movement. It's a shock absorber to the way you experience life, GABA. So when you over consume alcohol and you push yourself all the way over here, your brain tries pushing you here. And this is now when you wake up, you're all the way over here. You're actually worse than you were when you started drinking. And so that's why you come here. And that's why a lot of times people, when they're over here, like, gotta wake up in the morning, another drink, pushes them back to here. Treating GABA in the morning sucks. You know, there's not many good medications to treat GABA. There's the benzo class of medications, benzodiazepines, alprazolam, Xanax, diazepam, Valium, and you know, long-term use of these medications is just not safe. You know, and high dosing is really not safe. And so we have to be cautious with those. And we usually don't prescribe them. And you don't want to prescribe them for a hangover. Sometimes alcohol withdrawal you do because you want to get the brain in a middle place so it can kind of get through it. So that's a good time to be using it. In the morning when you have a hangover, you have that anxiety, it's important to try and figure out ways to control it yourself. There's some natural stuff you can do. You know, glycine has been shown to be helpful. In my experience with patients, with women, I'll use progesterone in the morning to help bring it about a better balance with them, with that GABA activity. Depends on the individual in those cases. I don't want to see what would fit with them. I know I'm being circumspect right now, but it's when it comes to GABA, treating GABA deficiencies in people, I'm very picky with it. I'm very careful with it. And I try and manage it the best I can without treating it directly with a benzo. So, hangovers. Summing it up. Hope this helps you guys. Vitamin B1, molybdenum, electrolytes, water, supporting with maybe some B complex as well, vitamin B complex in there. Maybe a little zinc. I didn't mention that, but I'll mention that now. A little zinc at 25 milligrams. That's not bad. And then being aware of the anxiety the day after had to do with your brain trying to compensate. Glycine can be helpful. I would add to this one thing, and every one of my patients who drinks alcohol, I bring this one thing up with them. Shame doesn't work for people to quit alcohol. I've seen this. It just doesn't. Guilt, shame, those things have never been effective. In my career, the one most effective thing, and I'm not saying anything, the other things are not effective, but the one single most effective way to have patients quit alcohol has been using a book that I recommend wholeheartedly. And it's called Alan Carr's Easy Way to Control Alcohol. It has been the most successful book I've had in my practice with helping people break that cycle of drinking. Hope all this helps. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next episode.